inability to read a room can drastically impact how you are perceived as a leader. In this video, I'm going to share with you how to read a room as a woman leader. And you want to watch this video until the end because many people in the wonderful world of leadership really struggle with this. And what happens is that they may say something or maybe trying to deliver a message and it does not resonate with the audience the way that they would like for it to because they didn't take a moment to read the room. So I'm going to share with you why this is critically important and give you some strategies to help you be able to learn how to read a room. Now, if you are watching this video and you clicked on this video, friend, you are absolutely meant to be here. I know that you are someone that is trying to elevate how you are communicating as a leader, and you are already very exceptional, and you are just trying to elevate and refine your communication skills. On this channel, I help you to learn how to communicate calmly and concisely under pressure as a leader. Now, my direct target audience that I provide executive coaching services to are women in leadership. However, if you are not in the direct target audience, perhaps you are a woman that is not a leader just yet, or maybe you are a man in leadership, the information, the strategies, the next level skills I'm going to share with you are universal, and you can use them regardless of what role you're in, even if you're not in the direct audience that I provide executive coaching services to. So I appreciate you all for being here. Now, if you're watching this portion of the video, you are more than likely watching the replay, friend, and welcome, welcome. I'm glad that you're here today. Typically on the lives here on YouTube, there is a point in time where people will start to join the conversation. So give me just a few moments so I can say hello to them, and then we'll get right into how to read a room as a woman leader. Reading a room is critically important. There are so many reasons why you need to learn how to read a room. For example, if you are in a leadership role and you have something you need to say, maybe it is about a specific topic, perhaps it's about a specific issue or project that you're dealing with, even though you know you need to talk about it, you might want to take a look and see what's going on and read the room first. Now, I want to say hello to those of you who are here today. If you want to learn how to read a room today as a leader, then this is the best place for you to be. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And also, have you ever read the room? Have you? And if you have, let me know what your experiences are, or if you have any strategies that you'd like to share for everyone to look at and learn from in this very brief live this beautiful morning. Now, as I mentioned, reading the room is important because you may come into the room with your own agenda, your own topic, your own issue that you need to discuss. But if there is something going on in the room and there's some dynamics going on in the room, it may not be the best time for you to say what it is you have to say, depending on what's going on. Now, we're going to talk about some strategies to help you learn how to read the room. But before I go into that, let me say hello to Aubrey Gentry. Welcome, friend. How you doing today? I hope you are doing fantastically well. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And if you have ever read a room, maybe struggled reading the room, or have some insights to share with us. So welcome, Aubrey Gentry. Glad you're here today. We have the Wood 06. I believe that's what it is. I am in transit. Hello, welcome, friend. How you doing today? Let me know if you have any questions about how to read a room. How do you read a room? I will tell you that if you can master how to read a room as a leader, you will not only showcase yourself as the leader that you want to be perceived as, you will showcase your executive presence, and you will automatically stand out from everybody else. How many of you have been in a meeting, in a room, in a discussion? Maybe you've been in your board meetings or perhaps in meetings with your businesses and etc. Maybe this is something that you have done, right? Have you ever been in a meeting where you heard somebody say something, you think, why did they say that? This doesn't matter. Let me know in the comments below if that's ever happened to you. Before I go into some strategies in terms of how you can start reading a room, let me see what's going on in the chat. The Wood 06, the 06 comes from the Alpha fraternity. Yes. Okay, yes, I'm familiar with that. I've been in college forever, so definitely familiar with the fraternities and sororities and the Panhellenic, not have Panhellenic groups. So appreciate you being here today, friend. Glad you're here. Aubrey Gentry says, you are so pretty. Well, thank you, Aubrey Gentry. I appreciate that. So let's talk about some strategies in terms of how you can learn how to read a room. That's what I'm sharing with you, what's going on. Before I go into that, the Wood 06 says, my dad was an alpha. Okay, fantastic. Awesome. Welcome. Very, very good. There's a lot of great individuals that have came out of different sororities and fraternities. So I appreciate that. So I want to start off by saying that your ability to read a room really does make you stand out. Not only in the physical sense, but in the sense that you know what to say, when to say it, and when not to say it. So when you go into a room, regardless of what situation you are in, when you go into a room, your first matter of business is to say hello to the room. There's different ways you can say hello. I talk about it in a couple of videos on my channel that talks about executive presence. But you want to say hello to the group as a whole and be quiet. Just watch. Observe. How you can read a room? It's the same way as reading a book. You cannot read a book if you're not looking at the book, unless you have an audible book. But you have to look. You have to observe what's going on in the room. Now, let's take it a step further for those of you who are watching this video in terms of learning how to read a room. So we're not only just going to observe people, right? We're not only just going to just people watch and look at people and see what they're doing, etc. Let's look at a couple of things. One, I want you to take a moment when you are in a room and you're learning how to read a room. I'm giving you some strategies. Now, I have a lot more to share. I'll probably go into this more this evening if I have time to do a live, but I'm going to share with you a couple things to get you started that you can start working on today. When you go into the room, you're observing, but we're not just looking at people. We're not just people watching. We need to see a couple things. First, take a moment and see who is speaking to who. That is a very, 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 very good indication that will help you to learn what exactly it is that is going on and who is having conversations with who. Why do you think this is important? This isn't a matter of saying you're just trying to learn the office gossip or anything like that. You need to have a good understanding of who is communicating with who in your business, in your organization, as a leader, or etc. You need to have an idea as to who is speaking with who. You need to know that. Now, before I go into the next strategy I want you to use when you're observing people, let me see what's going on in the chat. We have, the sun is really bright right here, so sorry, friends. I'm trying to see. Ozon Forcus, I believe that's how you say your name. Welcome, friend. Hope you're doing well today. If I mispronounced your name, I am incredibly sorry about that. So let me know if I did or if I did not. All right. Please say something in a different language. I don't know specifically what I'm saying, so I'm not going to say that publicly because I don't know what it is. Aubrey Gentry says, what time this evening? It really does vary. I typically go live in the morning and in the evening. Sometimes it's around 8 o'clock or so Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes at 7. I have a client session this evening, so I don't know how the time is going to work. So it'll probably be around about, it might be after 8 this evening, possibly. Today's a little off day. Today's election day here, midterms here in the United States. So I have to vote and have a client session. So tonight may be a little off in terms of the time. But if I don't go live tonight, then I definitely will go live tomorrow. I typically go live at least 2 times a day. All right, so Ozon Forcus says, then I'll sign up. Well, welcome. Yeah, subscribe to the channel. You're going to learn a lot of very great next level communication skills that you don't learn in your everyday settings that will help you stand out as a leader. And Aubrey Gentry says, okay, now we talked about, I want you to first take a look at who is communicating with who. This is a great indication to give you some insight in terms of who are the individuals that are communicating with each other. Most of the time in meetings, people that talk to each other consistently or often are the people that are usually pretty close to each other. So you'll get a sense of who is having conversations with who in a meeting. Second is you want to take a look at their body language. Why is this important? If you see somebody putting their hand on their face or if you look in the room overall and you see everybody is looking down and sad, like they just lost millions of dollars, then this is probably not the time for you to talk about a very complex subject that is not related to what's going on. Now, before I go into this more, we have Mr. Mascom-H2P. Welcome, friend. How you doing today? Glad you're here. Aubrey Gentry says, bye. I have to go to school. No problem, Aubrey Gentry. Feel free to subscribe, and you'll learn a lot more information. Hope you have an amazing day at school today, friend. Now, we talked about you observing the room. So we're looking to see exactly what is going on to the room as a whole. And the best way for you to do this is see what people are doing. So we once saw who are the people that are interacting with each other, who are talking to each other. The second is, now let's look at the room as a whole. Does everybody seem happy? Do they seem like they're in a positive mindset? You may hear some laughs. You may hear some people just maybe smiling a lot. You may notice that. Or are people looking like they're having a bad day? Now, depending on what people are doing should help guide you in terms of what it is you need to talk about. Now, let's go. Before I go into that, I want to say hello, Bobby77-C7V. Welcome, friend. Hope you're doing well today. Thank you for stopping by. We're talking about how to read a room. Now, as I mentioned, you want to place yourself in a situation where you are observing the room. You almost have to freeze yourself in time and see exactly what's going on with every single person in the room very quickly. You don't want to just stare at people. You have to take really a 1 or 2 second glance. This is what this person's doing, move. This is what this person's doing, move to the next one. So you have an idea in terms of what's going on in the room as a whole. You may notice some differences. You may notice one person is laughing and having a great time, and the other person is off to the side, looking down, maybe hand on their head, and they look like they're stressed. So depending on what it is that you need to talk about for your meeting or your discussion, it can sometimes be a good time for you to say something, or it might be a bad time for you to say something. If everyone in the room looks like they just lost $1 million or millions of dollars, then if you have a topic that is a very complex subject that's going to bring out some emotion, it might not be the best day for you to talk about that, depending on what's going on. Or you may have a situation where you just have to talk about it. But nonetheless, you want to be able to read the room first so you know exactly what's going on. Now, I've shared with you why reading a room is very important for you as a leader. And I've given you just a couple brief strategies, to help you get started. The first strategy is you want to make sure that you greet everyone and say hello. Then you can see who's saying hello to you and get a sense of what's going on there. Second, you want to observe the room. Same way that you read a book and you're trying to read a room, you have to look at people. You have to observe and see what's going on if you have the ability to see. You want to take a look at who is speaking with each other, who are communicating with each other, and then you want to transition into what is the overall body language, facial expressions that people are doing with each other and communication wise. Is the room silent? Are people putting their hands on their face like they lost millions of dollars? Or is everyone happy? Depending on what you see in terms of how you're reading the room may dictate what you need to say and what you do not need to say. Sometimes you may need to pause and not talk about a topic depending on what you see that is going on in the room. Sometimes you may need to say something immediately. That is one way to read the room. Now, there's so much more I can share with you all, friends, as it relates to this very complicated and sometimes very difficult strategy to really grasp as a leader. So if you want to learn more about that, feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you happen to be a woman in leadership that is wanting to elevate how you are communicating in these very complicated and challenging situations, then feel free to contact me for a strategy session in the description below. But if you're not in the target audience, maybe you're a woman that's not a leader or a man in leadership, then subscribe to the channel. You're going to learn a lot of universal, fantastic knowledge that will help you to communicate at a higher level than your peers. I will hopefully be going live this evening. As I mentioned, I have a lot going on today, this evening. If I do not go live this evening, I will be back tomorrow morning to go more into how you can learn how to read a room. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.